doing it. In other words, it's briefly comprehended in this: thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love. I'm just telling you, friend, you can't understand it unless you practice it. You do not understand keeping God's law until you just love people like you love yourself. What's love for others look like? Well, it's unselfish. That's the best illustration of it. I heard a teenager yesterday, and of course they didn't know that I was listening, so I could use them for an illustration. A teenager yesterday, I heard him saying something about, I would not give that to someone, because I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but I'm about me. And I don't know what they were talking about, somebody getting or somebody taking, but it's just the way I am. This person was telling me as though they're different from everybody else. I would not have given that. I would not have done that. That would have had to been for me. I don't even know what they were talking about, but I caught that. And that's the way I am. And I just thought that's just the way we all are. Every single one of us is selfish. And not a single one of us would want to give somebody something that we want for ourselves. But when you love people like you love yourself, then they are more important. When's the last time somebody took something from you that you believed belonged to you? They took your time, for instance. Anybody here ever been robbed of time? Somebody took your ability. It was on the way to our camping trip. There was a fellow in the line in front of us, and he was aggravated by a lady who stole his time. She stole ours too, because it was 10 items or less, and she had a whole bunch of stuff. And she was in that line. She took our time. It was ours. She should have been in the waiting line, and we should have been in the express line because we had less than 10 items. And he was sitting there, and he says, well, I'm going to say something. I should say something. You got more than 10 items there. And he told her, he said, well, somebody ought to say something. And anyway, it went on and on. And he let her know that she didn't belong where she was, and because of it, now, and his wife is pacing up and down the aisles looking for a shorter line because they were in a hurry. And so their time got stolen from them. And of course, I did the right thing. I just let them take it and thought, well, they're more important than me. I have learned that. Somebody cuts in your place and gets through a light and you have to stop for it. If you love them, then you're glad they made it through the light, even if you lost the time. Love's the fulfilling of the law, and love, very practically speaking, says, not my rights. It's not about me, it's you. If somebody's going to stay up late tonight to get the work done, you go sleep, I'll stay up late. If somebody's going to go without, you have it, and I'll do without. And that's how love's demonstrated. It's the fulfilling of the law. And you and I can do that because we have unsearchable riches. Notice we have this treasure, and it's in earthen vessels. But we have this treasure that allows us to spend and spend and spend without being spent, because grace is immeasurable and it is God's gift to us. And so you cannot love and use up your ability to love. You cannot give and exhaust the riches that you're a steward of, that God has given you. How immeasurable are the riches? How vast is the love of God? And you and I, as we are commanded to love, have to understand that we are not the source. We just live it. And it doesn't come from us, it comes from Him. It's from Christ. And so we can fulfill the law. Because Christ is the fulfilling of the law. Live Christ. Live Christ. That's love. Love is possible Not because of us, but because of Christ. And so you can do it. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. Verse 8, he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. You're supposed to love your neighbors yourself, and you work no ill to your neighbor. In other words, don't do anything bad toward them, anything that would be negative toward them, anything that would hurt them. That's the fulfilling of the law. And here's the reason, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to wake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. This is an allusion or a reference to the return of Christ. Goals help us to make it, don't they? I wish everybody could have gone camping. Suffered with everyone this week. And we walked 3 miles. We think. And actually, nobody thinks. It was more than 3 miles. I don't care what anyone says. It was a long distance. And different individuals had different loads, but a couple of people got major loads. And there were places and there were times when I think everybody thought there's just no way that this could physically, humanly be carried to where we're going and back. It's just not possible. You just can't do it. You ever been in a place in life when you are told, hey, you're not supposed to owe any man anything, and you think too late? Okay, good commandment. I agree with it. Too late. And the solution offered is get out of debt. And you think, there's no way. You're told, love your neighbor. But the problem is that what has happened, what has transpired between you and your neighbor, it's too far gone. And you just can't, it's too late. Can't be done. You know what makes things possible? You know how people get somewhere? You know how a person gets 4 miles through plowed ground, pushing something that's way too heavy? A step at a time. Step at a time. I can't forgive them. If I forgive them, it'll come back. Something will happen that we'll forgive them today. Forgive them today. And then tomorrow, if it comes back, forgive them again. And if they wrong you again, forgive them for that. Just do right. And the great thing about it is that verse 11 reminds us that probably any second now, Christ is going to return it, so it's not for that long that you have to do it anyway. You ever ask a kid, when something's going on, especially if you're a school teacher, you understand, man, you get something started and it just goes and goes and goes. And somebody asks, can I go? And your answer is, my answer always is, how long do you think you can make it? Driving the church van, we're out in the wilderness. I warn people, pastor doesn't stop. But you have to stop. But you tell them you don't. And my question, usually somebody else, it's not the person. They never have the courage to tell me themselves, but the message gets passed up. Hey, are we going to be stopping anytime soon? And the answer is, in about 5 hours. And it goes back to the person, and they come back and say, we really need to stop before 5 hours. And then, so I already know, but I say, why do we need to stop in 5 hours? Message goes back to, it's always on the back seat of the van. Message goes to the back, and a message comes back up, really need to stop. And my question always is, how long do you think you can make it? Usually they come back, not at all. And then so I send back, can you do 5 minutes? Could you do 5 minutes? And maybe. 3 minutes in it. Can you still do 5 minutes? You'd be amazed how long people can go 5 minutes. Or just one more step. You know, one of the things I hate